Welcome back to another Flash video tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and get started by creating a new ActionScript 3.0 document, and this video is going to cover the topic of classic tweens. Now, in the previous video I showed you shape tweens and motion tweens. Now there is classic tween. So basically how a classic tween works is very similar to a motion tween, with the exception of the fact that it works sort of like a shape tween. I'll show you what I mean. So if we did a shape tween, right? If I drew from here to, insert keyframe from here, and I said, no, I want a triangle, create a shape tween. Well, now it's changing from a square to a triangle. Cool, right? And we needed 2 keyframes to do that versus a motion tween. We needed a movie clip. And we pretty much just went anywhere on these frames and said, okay, now we're going to move over here, and then blah, 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 and now we have this motion path to work with. Well, that's cool and all, but classic tweens are a mix of the two. So classic tweens handle motion, transformation, stuff like that, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to delete these two. So I have my classic tween, go on frame 1, and to draw a rectangle. And now classic tweens, like motion tweens, need some kind of movie clip to work with. If you were to just tell it to create a classic tween, like notice how this isn't a movie clip, it's just a drawing. If you tell it to create a classic tween, it's going to go ahead and try and convert that to something. So it's converted it to a graphic. I would suggest not doing that. So I'm going to undo, Control Z. And just be aware of, if you try doing it with a drawing, it's going to convert it into a graphic or a movie clip. So I'm going to take charge of this, and I'm going to convert this into a movie clip myself. So movie clip for classic tween. And now I have a movie clip. And the cool thing about this is let me insert a frame, 25, make sure we have enough to work with. I'm going to create a classic tween. Now, if you notice, similar to the shape tween, we have all these dots here saying, hey, well, I'm supposed to be tweening, but what do I tween to? So I'm going to insert a keyframe on frame 25. I'm going to remove this extra tween that is generated on the end there. And now I have a classic tween from 1 to 25. But that's not doing anything because I haven't done anything yet. So I'm going to drag my square out to the right. You can see now my square is moving. Cool thing about classic tween is that it also handles skewing. So I'll say 150, rotation, or sorry, not skew, that was scale. So scale, rotation, and skew. So now my classic tween is going from a square to being a sideways, crooked, special square, or rectangle now. But the main difference between a classic tween and a motion tween is that you have to use keyframes instead of just changing it on the tween. You need to tell it to go from point A to point B. The one other thing about classic tween is that you don't have as much control as you do in the motion tween. As you can see, there's no motion path for me to edit, so it's pretty much you go straight to one point, straight to another. If I click on somewhere in the tween, you can see I have tweening properties on the right here. So I can have it rotate, and this doesn't always work exactly how you think it would, but I can rotate it, I can orient it to the path, although there's not really a path to orient to. All these options are still here. Something that I did not show with the motion tweens, and I can go ahead and click on, so I'm going back to frame 1, I'm going to click on my square. Something I didn't show with the motion tweens is color effect. So I have a movie clip, and let's say I wanted to fade from being 100% visible to 100% transparent. Normally I do that with a shape tween by changing my alpha value. You can't entirely do that with movie clips. So if you go to whatever keyframe, click on your movie clip, there's a property called color effect. And there's brightness, there's tints, there's advanced, and there's alpha. So if I did alpha, I could set the alpha, the very first frame, to be 100 and go to 25 and go to frame 25, excuse me. Click on my shape, and let me change the color effect alpha to 0. And now I have this fade from perfectly visible to perfectly not visible. And this is pretty cool with what you can do with it. So if I changed brightness and I made it 0 and I went over here, changed this to brightness, made it super bright, or actually it's just a little bright, you can fade brightness to darkness. And this is something to play around with. So you can do tint, which should allow you to change the color of your shape. So it's tinting it whatever color you see here. Advanced, it's a little advanced. You don't need to worry about it. But we have brightness, tint, and alpha.